Soka. It's so good to be back with you. This is Two Sisters of a Certain Age, Conversations with a Therapist.
And a doctor.
I am your co-host, Judy Grant, licensed marriage and family therapist.
And I'm your co-host, board certified pediatrician and board certified child abuse pediatrician.
So, Candy, what is happening? I feel like it's been a minute.
It does feel like it. Well, I was in San Francisco or Oakland last weekend to watch my son run the marathon. He was doing great till the 21st mile, and then something happened to his knee. He's still crossed, but, I expected him to kind of come to me because I was right there, and then he ran to his girlfriend. So, so I was tickled by that.
But I mean, but there's so much to be proud of. I mean, he
Oh my
ran
gosh, yes.
26.2
I
miles.
know, I know.
I can't even begin to fathom that.
Driving that is making me exhausted. I can't even imagine.
Right.
And the guy who came in first, he looked like it was like a walk in the park. Like he did it in
Right.
2.5 hours, just crazy.
Jeez.
But really inspiring. It was really festive. And there was, marathon, half marathon, 5K, 10K, and fun run. So there were people in strollers, people in tutus, all types of things. And it was perfect weather. Glad I was able to support him.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to Zachary.
Yeah.
That's an experience I'm never going to have. But I'm glad to say that we have a family member who has
Yes.
completed that.
We have two family members.
We do have two family members.
We have a crazy brother who ran the marathon without training.
No training. He just decided he was going to run.
And
the LA Marathon.
Yeah, years ago he finished, but he was wiped out for like a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why people train.
I know.
Right? You got to kind of build up to it.
I know.
And Steve just jumped in, was like, I'm doing this today.
Yeah. He's crazy.
Yeah. But that's our brother. That's our brother. All right. So what do we want to talk about today, Candy?
Well,
I know there's been something that's been on your mind.
I want to talk about jealousy because Judy sent me a little Instagram a few weeks back, and it was a big wheel, and it was like a kid on a big wheel, and then you pull the brakes, and then you spin out. And
okay, so let's just frame this up a little bit. Okay, we need to give a proper timeline of the big wheel. This is mid 1970s.
Yeah.
I, more than anything else for Christmas, wanted a big wheel. Okay? This little plastic low tricycle sort of thing. One tire, one hard rubber tire in the front, two in the back. And you have your little brake on the side. It was like yellow and red. That's all I wanted. Christmas kind of came and went, and I didn't have my big wheel. And my mother saw me looking kind of sad, like, what's going on? And Mommy had forgotten to bring the big wheel out. So she remembered, and then I don't remember what sort of sneaky thing she did or said, but I got my big wheel, and I loved it. So when I sent Candy the Instagram video, that triggered you.
Yeah, because I didn't get a big wheel, and I didn't want one, but it was so much fun. And I don't know. I just felt so left out. And I was like, I want one, like it's like FOMO before it was called FOMO. And then of course I was jealous of her and she was having fun. And I'm like, damn big wheel, those types of feelings, the resentment. And then I was, forced to think, well, I wasn't forced, but I started to think of other times in my life when I was jealous, specifically jealous of my sister. And my first recollection of jealousy was when we were in Jamaica and you weren't in school. And, I would leave and go to school and I would come home. Where's Mommy and Daddy? Oh, they're gone. Where did they go? They went to Kingston. Where's Judy? She went with them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I was united. with my two brothers to hate her,
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
jealous. Like in those moments, because the thing is, when you went to Kingston, it wasn't like just down the street. Mommy would bake muffins.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It was a
you
long drive.
I know, so you would get the outing, you would get the muffins. And I'm like, there are no muffins. She didn't send me to school with muffins. And so that's my first recollection of jealousy. And
Wow.
I know, and throughout my life, I have been jealous. Um, I wouldn't say it's sibling rivalry, like I wasn't like vying for anything. But okay, it started with the trips to Kingston, the big wheel. And then I
Hold
was,
on, hold on. Before the big wheel was my fifth birthday party. Now,
oh,
folks,
yeah,
hold on, hold on. I recognize that my sister is jealous of things that I had no control over. None of this was me, but they have been solidified in her mind
yeah,
as those first moments of feeling jealous, of
yeah,
understanding that emotion.
yeah.
So, what happened for my fifth birthday?
So at your fifth birthday party, we knew we were leaving Jamaica. So it was a big deal. So we went rafting on the Martha Brae. Anybody who's
Mm-hmm.
been to Jamaica know that that's like a highlight. And people came in, her godparents. It was like all of Discovery Bay went to Martha Brae. And then Judy, for her birthday, she got a doctor kit. And then in the doctor kit, it was like two there for the pills, she got two bubblegum balls. And so I'm looking at this kit and I'm like, she doesn't want to be a doctor. I'm the one who needs to be getting the kit. And so, to add insult to injury, she ate a bubble gum ball and she gave the other bubble gum to my brother Steve, the same one who ran. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. And I remember being jealous of that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
those are kind of like, of course, like I didn't treat her bad or anything, but I was seething internally.
Yes. I had
Those
no idea. I had
no,
no idea,
I,
people.
I I didn't rough her up or push her around, but like it's just kind of like I kept that into my internal pocket of hurts, and then
Right.
the next thing I remember of being jealous about is you, Ruppy, and Steve.
Oh
You
my
guys were
gosh.
always athletic.
Oh.
You guys could always run fast, and I never could. And I was envious of the praise you used to get for being fast. And I was
Mm.
like, I'm not fast. And I have a different body type. And I remember just being jealous of them for that. And then that jealousy kind of subsided when I was performing well academically because I wanted mommy and daddy to be proud of me for something. So, I was doing well in school. So that kind of subsided. But then when we went to high school, and then Ruppy and Steve, they were on the track team. And then the PE teacher would, how come you aren't on track? I'm like, have you looked at me? Come on. And then you came after and
Mm-hmm.
you ran track and you were undefeated that first year before you had the injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit jealous, but then mommy and daddy would come to the drama department to see me
Yes.
perform. So
Yes.
so then it wasn't bad. But um, what's interesting is I I'm not really jealous of people outside of my family. And jealousy isn't an emotion that I deal with now. But when I was younger, it
Mm-hmm.
was an
Mm-hmm.
issue. And I never like you wouldn't know I was jealous of your doctor kid unless I told you. Or
Right.
the big wheel, or it was just this
Right.
kind of thing. So it was kind of this confessional that
Mm-hmm.
I told you at a later date, and it's comical now.
Yeah,
Um,
but it might be comical now
mhm.
because we're clearly grown and we can laugh about the big wheel and such. But as a child, that hurts.
It was a big
That
deal to me
hurt.
then. Yeah.
But you know, the thing is, when we were talking about having this episode, I'm like, well, Candy, you have a lot more of these jealousy memories than
Uh,
I. But sitting here listening to you, I can tell you what I was jealous about.
what?
I always felt that you were just so much smarter than me. And you had these amazing grades in school, and I couldn't compete with that. I couldn't. I didn't
Mhm.
feel like I could compete with that. And so when you're getting these report cards and they're straight A's, and I'm thinking, I can barely add 2 plus 2, that that was something that I was jealous of, like
Mhm.
your academic success.
Mhm.
And there was a time in my life where I wanted to be an orthodontist, really
Mhm.
wanted to be an orthodontist. And then I thought, I cannot do the sciences like I see my sister doing for medical
Mhm.
school. I can't do it. I just did not have that faith in myself. And I saw you excelling in that area. And, still like a little bit of like, damn, I wish I had what Candy has. Um, and, clearly things have worked out the way they were
Yeah.
supposed to work
Mhm.
out. But it was like as a kid that I don't think it hurt me. I don't think I like really focused on it too much, but it was like, wow, I wish I could be like that.
Mhm. Do you
And
recall
then,
any other time,
so with you specifically,
or just in general?
um, so this episode is all about our brother Steve.
Uh-huh.
So our brother is an amazing artist. He can draw anything, he can sculpt anything,
Mhm.
he can create out of nothing.
Uh-huh. And he can fix anything.
And he can fix
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
So, and as a young kid, he was able to do this. And I remember having like little reports that I had to do for school where they say, "Draw a cat." I can't draw the cat.
Mhm.
Steve could draw the cat. And
Mhm.
I remember Steve drawing for me because I
Mhm.
couldn't. And when, people ask you those questions like, what one thing would you change about your life? Or like, what one skill would you
Mhm.
like to have? I say, like, to be able to draw because
But
I saw that as something that Steve could do that I couldn't.
But were you jealous? Did you have any resentment toward him? I
No,
think there.
it wasn't,
I
it
think.
wasn't
I think there's. Yeah.
resentment.
There's a difference between jealousy, because jealousy is just this strange emotion where you're like, "What?" It's this resentment. It's this. It's
Yeah.
uncommon to me. It might be like, "Oh, it would be nice if I could do this," but I don't think it was really
No,
jealousy.
I guess you're right. I guess
Hmm.
you're right. It wasn't that strong feeling of jealousy, but it was definitely like, damn, my sister's super smart, my brother's super
Hmm.
artistic, and I just kind of felt like more average kid.
But the thing is, like the concept of sibling rivalry, that wasn't an issue with us. That
No, it
wasn't.
wasn't.
We weren't competitive against each other. Our parents didn't pit us against each other. There wasn't anything like
There
mommy
was
saying, "Oh, Rookie did this. Why can't you do it?" Or Steve
right.
did. There was never any of that. So that is
No.
a foreign concept to me, but it
Mm-hmm.
is something that I've observed in other families where there's
Right.
constant competition.
Right. Right. Because I didn't grow up fighting with anybody.
No.
Right.
Mm-mm.
and so that's probably why I'm not, I don't like confrontation. It was not part of
Mm-mm.
my of
Yeah.
my early years, formative years. But yeah, Candy, I think you hit on something important. Sibling rivalry tends to be one is jealous over another for
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z reason. And maybe it's not the kids doing it themselves, but the parents. So
Yeah.
now, if the parents are, calling out Robbie for how amazing he is, and
Mm-hmm.
why can't you be like your brother?
Yeah.
Now that those emotions get all twisted up inside, and now you're angry with your brother while he didn't do anything specifically to you, but the parents are holding him up on this pedestal,
Right. And
and
go ahead. I think those things, that rivalry, if it's there, I don't think it ever goes away. I think that's why people are so stressed at the holidays, because they have to be with the siblings who they didn't like, or,
Right,
daddy loved
right.
you more, or you got
Mm-hmm.
special treatment. And
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, yeah, yeah. So it is an erosive thing in terms of relationships.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I think you're right. I think that what we call sibling rivalry when we're young becomes this constant state of competition with
Yeah,
your siblings as adults. Like,
yeah.
who wants to deal with that?
Oh God, I am
You
so
know?
not competitive.
No.
Yeah, and there's a joke. I ran into somebody I went to elementary school with,
I know
and
this joke.
I won't mention her name, but she said, "Oh my gosh, Sophia, remember we were always competing against each other to see who could get the best grades?" And I'm looking at her like, I was never competing with you.
Right.
Like, but in
Mm-hmm.
her mind, because she was competing with me, she saw it that I'm like, I don't care what anybody else is doing.
Right.
When I was in medical school, we took this test to see, are you a type A or type B personality? And most of my classmates were type B, some were type C, a type B. So it was mostly A, some B. I got the lowest score. I was like a type C, you know? And I
Right.
remember feeling like, how can I finish medical school if I don't have this intensity? And it kind of like broke my spirit a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be successful like everybody else if I don't have this intensity. And but that's just not my personality.
Right.
And
Right.
being pre-med was such a nightmare, because being around other people who want to get into medical school, it's so pressure, so much. And it made me nervous. So people who are really intense make me nervous, make me anxious. People constant, what'd you get on that test? What'd you put for number two? When you take a test,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like
Mm-hmm.
being around people like that. That
Mm-hmm.
lessened once I was in medical school, because you're there. And I
Right.
wasn't competing with my classmates or anything. I just want to get through medicals. I don't care what anybody else is getting.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I do recall, this thing about jealousy. I'm not jealous of other people, but when I was in college, I took a ceramics class, and anybody who's ever done ceramics, you have to throw the clay. It's on the wheel, and you have to center it. I could never really center my clay. It was always a little bit wonky, and then
Mm-hmm.
so I'm there, and it might be the third day of class, and this guy's so good that the teacher doesn't give him the regular clay. He's giving him porcelain,
Right.
you know, and I'm still having trouble centering the clay. And I was jealous of him, that he was like, "Why is it so easy for you?" And it was a strange thing, because that's not an emotion I deal. And I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is so strange." Anyway, the guy was making this vase, and he's pulling it, and you kind of have to kind of gently pull it, and he pulled
Mm-hmm.
it too fast, and the thing kind of had a hole, and it collapsed, and I was secretly happy. And that is, I believe, the last time I recall being jealous of somebody. And I remember feeling it, and when it collapsed, and being happy and saying, this really isn't good, because he's doing his thing. He isn't paying attention to me.
Right. Right.
Why should
Right.
I be
Right.
paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to him?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Just handle your business.
it's exactly, exactly. But like, you're gonna run into people who are jealous of you while you're
Mm-hmm.
just doing your own thing. Who want,
Yeah. Okay. But let me ask you something. As you're talking about this, I'm thinking of envy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when we're envious of somebody for something. So where does envy and jealousy begin? Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of crossover,
Right.
right? Like I was envious of those Sassoon baggies that I couldn't get back in seventh grade,
Yeah,
and
mommy
my
wouldn't
friends
buy them
had.
because they were too expensive. Yeah.
Right. So I was envious of that. Now, I didn't have jealousy. I didn't resent them for having those things,
Uh-huh.
but damn, I wish I had those Sassoon baggies.
Right. Um, I got Sassoon knockoff Sassoon baggies when they were out of style.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
that's when I got them.
Mommy always came through 2 years
2
later.
years later. Yeah, yeah. And it was
Yes.
the knockoffs, the knockoffs.
Right.
So I'm
Oh
looking
my
up
gosh.
envy. I think is envy a less than jealousy? I think it is. You think it is?
I think it is.
It says
Okay.
a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions.
Okay.
Huh.
So this is material
Mm-hmm.
possessions. So this is material goods that we're talking about.
Right. So that's
But
envious.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've all experienced that, like I want that car.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have that such and such, or why can't I get that handbag? I think we've all experienced it to a degree. Some people definitely more than others, where
Yeah.
it really becomes like, trying to keeping up with the Joneses,
Uh-huh.
right? So it becomes this all-encompassing sort of thing. Um, but I think none of us are without those feelings at
Mm-hmm.
some point in our lives.
Right. Right. I don't live in that space now, you
No, it's
know?
it's it's too much. I can't. I just gotta handle my
Yeah,
business.
I have enough trouble keeping up with my stuff, what's going
Right.
on with, like, I can look at stuff and admire things
Mm-hmm.
and be like, wow, that's really cool. Or you see somebody going on a fabulous trip. That's really cool. But I'm not jealous, resentful, or I don't have ill will or bad
No,
feelings or think,
no,
why do they have
no.
it and I don't have it?
Right.
But
But Candy, I think, there's some people that grow mature beyond that sort of stuff, and
yeah,
then other people that get stuck in it.
yeah,
And come on, I can name people right now that are grown ass adults that are stuck in that space of keeping up with others,
yeah.
you
Oh my
know?
God. Yeah, buying the latest designer stuff, meantime can't pay their mortgage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but I do, since we are really talking about jealousy, I want to talk about romantic jealousy.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, are you jealous when somebody approaches your partner? How does that manifest? How does that come out? How do you respond to that?
Mm-hmm.
Are you jealous of the work wife, right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's just my work wife. We do everything together at work. Wait a second.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what, how can that become problematic? And I think it can be very, very problematic.
Mm-hmm.
First, if you don't trust your partner,
Right, right.
right? And then also, you can trust your partner 110% knowing that they're doing nothing wrong, but that work wife is still kind of pushing the boundaries,
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
and how to deal with that. And we hear stories and we see them, God knows they're all over TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
where people are, saying how their partner's best friend came on to them, and then they told their partner, like it becomes crazy
Right.
making.
Right. Remember
So
when Daddy died, some of Daddy's friends were kind of hitting on Mummy? And
yes,
I think what they
yes,
saw is a good marriage. Daddy was a good man. Mommy's a good woman. And they
mm-hmm.
wanted please, I don't want your stinky ass.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, I don't know if those people would have ever approached Mummy.
Oh, they
What?
did.
Oh God,
They
I
did.
can't even think of
That
that.
that's how I know.
Oh, hold on. We have to tell the story of Daddy in the bank.
Oh, that is a funny story.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll tell it. So,
Okay.
uh, Daddy's
Okay,
big.
and this is an example of our mother being jealous.
Yeah.
Just to be
So
clear.
yeah. Now Daddy's the last person you would ever have to worry about. But Daddy used to bank at what was it, City National Bank. So sometimes he'd take home deposits from his job, and we would deposit it in the bank. And one time, our brother was with Daddy depositing some money, and then this teller who had seen all this money go in and out of the account, and she finally
Mm-hmm.
meets Daddy. And then this woman is flirting with Daddy, this teller, and Rupee's there, and Daddy's completely clueless.
And Rupee's a teenager, you
Uh
know.
huh.
It's he wasn't like a little
Uh huh.
kid.
And he was like, "Daddy, you see that woman? She's flirting with you." No, 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 Gussa. And so, Daddy, because he's not in that frame of mind, he didn't even
Mm-hmm.
realize. So then, they go home, and Rupi tells Mummy, and Rupi is tickled. Daddy's like, it wasn't true. So then another time, Rupi goes to the bank with Mummy, and Rupi said, "Hey, Mummy, that's the teller who was kind of, making eyes at Daddy." And Mummy looked at her, and this is out of character. And my mother says, "That bitch." And Mummy wasn't a person to talk like that.
Right.
And like, I don't think I think that's the only jealous story I ever heard about Mummy.
But okay, but then just think about that. That feeling of jealousy led to behavior that she would not
That's out of
ordinarily.
character.
Yes, it was so out of character. But in that moment,
Yeah.
she was very unhappy with this
Yeah. Uh
person
huh. Yeah. It
and
makes
used
you not think straight. It makes you not act normal.
right. Right, but then also, Candy, now I gotta take it to the extreme because this does happen in our society where that jealousy fuels you sometimes without any logical reason. There's no evidence of it, but it can spiral into something abusive or dangerous,
Yeah.
life-threatening,
Controlling.
and
Hmm.
controlling, manipulative,
Yeah.
and we unfortunately we've seen where
Hmm.
jealousy can get to that place.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking therapeutically, what do? Like somebody comes in, talks to their therapist about like, yeah, I'm feeling this way about my partner, so and so is making eyes at them. Um, I'm getting really angry, I'm getting really frustrated. Okay, so how are we going to manage that? First, have you talked to your partner about the way you
Hmm.
feel? Are they aware of the situation? You know, um, let's start by communicating. Let's let's break this down logically. Is there any evidence of anything happening? So I think when you start to have these feelings that are a little bit more than comical, a
Hmm.
little bit more than sibling rivalry, that's
Yeah.
something that is like really going to go sideways quickly. We need to check ourselves, take a deep breath, find an objective person to talk to, and start working through these feelings before they escalate into something disastrous.
Right. But sometimes you're jealous because maybe your partner has history of being
Mm,
flirtatious with people, a history of stepping out, and then so you become hypervigilant. That's not good for your health. That's not good for your
right,
blood pressure. It's not good for your heart. It's not good. You get headaches,
right.
anxiety, all types of things. Like if your husband is goes on a guy's trip and you don't feel safe with them, you feel who are you going, and
Mm-hmm,
you need to
mm-hmm.
reevaluate your relationship. I'm
Very
not
true.
saying it needs to end, but you should probably check in and talk about your feelings, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a completely different thing if you do not trust the other
Right,
person.
right.
That's
Yeah,
that's a
that's another.
whole other story. And there are definitely some issues there that, might best be addressed in a couples counseling sort of scenario.
Right. Now, what about work jealousy? People at work are jealous of your accomplishments, jealous that you've
Mm,
been acknowledged.
mm,
You're just doing your job, minding your
yep.
business. And some people will think, well, why does Sophia get to be medical director? Why is she being acknowledged? Why does
Mm-hmm,
she? And
mm-hmm.
you got to be careful because that person might try and sabotage you, paint you in a negative light. And then,
You're saying this, and we both have examples of
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. But um, what was I going to say? Oh, um, you have to be careful. One thing I know is you might work with people, but they're not your friends. They're your
Right.
coworkers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anybody I'm currently working with as a friend on any type of social media. Okay. Because I don't want to show my life outside of work and then have it be a topic of conversation at work when I didn't bring it up. So that's
Right.
one thing. You don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful when it comes to work who you talk to. You might say, "Oh, look at Simone. She's so lazy. She doesn't do any work and she's the favorite." You have to be careful who you tell that to, because then the person you tell it to could go back and tell Simone, Sophia was saying this about. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we have a late aunt, my mother's aunt, great aunt, who she worked at a hospital, and there's a woman who, if you talk about one person, she'd go back and do just what I was talking about. So she developed, her thing was, if somebody were to bring up somebody's name and maybe she dislikes that person, thinks it's a worse person, say the person is Elaine. Oh, have you seen Elaine? She's so lazy. And my aunt would say, I love Elaine. Elaine's a good worker. So, like, she could never go back and tell Elaine that, oh, so and so was talking about you. So, I
Right.
mean, Aunt Claire, she was just so wise, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a funny story. But that is how you negotiate toxic people at your workplace who want to make you look bad and maybe trying
Right.
to tear you down.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of uh, podcast episodes back, I mentioned that I worked at a place that was soul sucking and toxic. And I was told that when the medical director retired, I would become medical director of. And I'm like, no bleeping way do I want to be in charge of these people who have been trying to tear me down the entire time, because I wouldn't trust them. I
Right.
would,
Right.
and I don't know why I was. Well, I think I was mistreated because they're unhappy.
Right.
But
But there might have been a lot of jealousy there too,
oh yeah,
Candy.
yeah, yeah,
For whatever
yeah.
reason,
Hmm.
they might have been jealous. One of the things that our mother pointed out to me is not currently, but past jobs. The family would go on a vacation to Jamaica,
Yeah.
right? We're Jamaican. We're
Hmm.
going home. And we would be, and people like hear the word Jamaican. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, blah, 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 blah. We're just going home.
Hmm.
There were two cases at an employment years and years ago where I came back and suddenly people had issue with my work performance.
Hmm.
I was stellar up until I got back from Jamaica.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't like to see you happy. And
People don't like to see you
remember,
happy.
your daughter went on vacation and she went back to work, and somebody was commenting on her vacation.
Yes. Yes.
So that
Mm-hmm.
goes back to, don't tell people what you're doing. People don't need to know
Right.
your life. At that at,
Right.
at that place where I used to work, um, they were so horrible. They knew nothing about what was going on. And my mother
Mm-hmm.
told me, just I said, I only talk about my dogs and my kids. Mommy said, don't even talk about your children, just talk about your dog. And so
Right.
and then I became a woman of mystery. If I took a long weekend, if I took,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
Friday to Tuesday off, they always thought I went to Jamaica. They didn't know.
Right.
They didn't. And what happens is people will build up this kind of
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
world, the thing that they imagine. They thought
Mm-hmm.
I was jet setting. And I wasn't really going anyplace. I think that entire time I might have gone to Jamaica twice, but they thought I was routinely going to Jamaica. They will build up a world because they weren't allowed in my world. I didn't trust them to be in my world. So
Mm-hmm.
they made my world more fabulous than it was, so that they could continue to mistreat me, you
Right.
know?
And again, going back to jealousy. Because, Candy, say you were jet setting, say you
Uh-huh.
were in Jamaica all that time, and Paris and Rome and wherever.
Mm-hmm.
That continued mistreatment was from jealousy. Damn, how does Sophia get to do all of this
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, yeah.
So I think, we talked about jealousy like from little children
Mm-hmm.
to the grownest of grown,
Yeah.
right? And we are not exempt from it. I think we can all have those sorts of feelings. It's just, you know, being able to check ourselves when we have those emotions. Okay, why am I really feeling like this?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with me? And also, I think, we hopefully we grow out of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're in a position where we don't have to feel jealous. We trust our partners. We trust, our family members. We trust the people that we care about, that we do not have to feel jealous about anything that's happening in their lives and how it might affect us.
Mm-hmm. And if you find yourself jealous of somebody, like, oh, I'm jealous because my best friend bought a house and I don't have a house yet. Well, start saving and working towards achieving that goal. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you want to take vacations and you can't afford it, well, maybe don't take a fabulous vacation. Take a smaller vacation or
Right.
save towards it. Or, you don't have to sit in that negative space. It's
No.
not, it's not a good emotion to have.
No, it's
And
not healthy.
you know what? We never grew up seeing our parents competing with anybody. They were just doing their thing. Mommy and daddy weren't, you know, they didn't join stuff. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
looking at what people, they were just living their little life as two little
Mm-hmm.
immigrants with their four kids. And so we didn't grow up competing. But, for the people who are always trying to social climb and get on top, like,
One up somebody else.
oh, good Lord. It's
That's
exhausting.
exhausting.
I don't have time for that. I
Right.
do not. So I think, take home message, be happy with what you have. And frequently you're jealous of somebody and you don't even know what's going on in their home.
It's very true.
You
Very
you
true.
don't you're jealous of a couple, oh, they're booed up and maybe it's not a great relationship.
Right.
So you have to
Hmm.
create your own happiness. And if you find yourself being jealous, say, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I know the cause of all my former jealousies,
Yes.
but yeah, it's not good to live in that place, that negative place. And because you end up hurting people, hurting yourself. It's not good. Live your
Yeah.
little life, you
And be
know?
happy in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because guess what? Someone else is looking at you thinking, damn,
Mm-hmm.
she's got it going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so just be content, be satisfied with what you've got going on, and make it the best you can for yourself,
Yeah.
not for what others might think or view or believe of you, just for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that we can let go of these feelings of envy and jealousy.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So, folks, thank you so much for joining us this week on our Two Sisters of a Certain Age conversations with a therapist and a doctor. Always so happy to have you here. Please don't forget to like, follow, review. Candy, where can our people reach us?
And subscribe.
Yes.
Subscribe because we have Soka supplements that will be available to people who subscribe,
Yes, we
and
do.
that won't be just aired to, I call it the Gen Pop. And
Mm-hmm.
you can find us on Instagram at Two Sisters of a Certain Age. You can find us on Facebook at Two Sisters of a Certain Age. You can find us on YouTube at Two Soka. And then email is twosokapodcast@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
Hi,
Bye.
everybody.
No longer network.